Hey there, how are y'all tonight? Thank you for joining me, and thank you guys for all the questions this week. I really appreciate them. We're just going to run through these really quick so that you guys are not stuck on a long call with me, but I do want to answer the questions that came in because there's actually a couple of themes, and so I want to answer the questions and I want to talk about the themes real quick. So here we go. And the first question that came in is, and this one's from Tammy, and Tammy emailed this to me. And just so you know, um, and if I haven't introduced myself before, I'm Kelly Howard, and I'm leading the Fit, Free, and Fabulous Fitness Storm this 4 weeks. So if we haven't met before, nice to meet you. And if you need anything, just drop me a note. And you can email me at kelly@fitisfreedom.com. You can message me through Facebook. You can post in the group, the private group. There's a link here, or you can post on the Facebook page. Any of those ways, we'll be looking for your questions, gathering them, and then answering them on Wednesday evenings. So once again, Wednesday nights, 7 o'clock until I'm done, which is usually probably 15 minutes. And then Monday nights, it's about 30 minutes. I mean, I give myself an hour, but really, I don't want to spend an hour of y'all's time. You should be doing something else. So about a half an hour is what it should take. And next Monday evening, we're going to be talking about, well, one of the big ones we're talking about is what's your kryptonite? Like, what's that thing that just throws you off? We've all got them. We've all got them. And some of us learn to deal with them quicker than others, but we'll be talking about that next Monday night. Once again, 7 p.m. It will be on the public Facebook page, okay? Public Facebook page, conversation afterwards, and a repost on the private Facebook page. So, first question. This is from Tammy, and Tammy says, hey, Joan. So, Tammy says, Thursdays scare me. I'm consistent up until Thursday morning with my schedule, and then my schedule just falls apart. What do I do? And that's not unusual, because typically what happens is somebody will create a schedule, like maybe a 7-day schedule, and you go hard, you go in hard, we all go in hard, we're going to just kick this thing in the butt and just do it, and you're consistent, and then you get a little busy, things catch up, and hey, Joan, I am so glad you made it here. And so the reality is that, maybe you've been putting some things aside during the week so that you could get that extra workout in or whatever it is that you wanted. And by Thursday morning, you're kind of like, well, I'm kind of falling apart here. So my suggestion is a couple of things. One of them is you could make Thursday your rest day. Like, you just trust yourself 100% that you're going to start back up on Friday and make Thursday your rest day. Another thing you could do is make Thursday like your social exercise day, which is like my favorite thing. So if you were to just go ahead and say, all right, on Thursdays, I'm going to go run with my girlfriends, or I'm going to meet everybody for a yoga class, and then we're going to go out to dinner afterwards. Just kind of like make Thursdays your social time to kind of reboot yourself for the next few days. So try that, Tammy, and let me know what happens next week and how that works out. So another one, and this one actually is from Joan. And Joan had asked about creating her schedule. She was kind of like even hesitant to do it because she wanted to do, and I'm just going to read it if you don't mind. I'm hesitant on completing my schedule. I want to schedule 2 workouts per day, but I'm worried I'll be tired and not follow through on both. So is it better to commit to one and give myself the option each evening, or should I go ahead and schedule 2 or 3 evenings? So first thing is, 2 workouts a day is quite a bit. I guess it really depends on what you're doing. Like, a workout could be if you're doing like your aerobics in the morning and maybe yoga or stretching or something in the evening. That's a little different, right? Because you're getting like 2 different types of things in. And since you're on the call, you definitely can jump in and let me know. But if you know that you've got the time and the bandwidth to do 2 a day, generally, then what I would do is I would go ahead and schedule them, and then give yourself that what I call the 80% rule. And the 80% rule is that, 80% is just awesome, right? If you hit 80% of what you say you're going to do, quite frankly, and we're going to talk about this more in a minute, you're rocking it. I mean, really, truly, you're rocking it. So you could go either way. You could go, well, I'm going to go ahead and schedule it and just, know that I might not make it all. Or just ask yourself, the other thing that I would actually ask is, why 2 workouts a day? My bet is, since I'm pretty sure you're not training for a triathlon, which usually does actually end up calling for 2 workouts a day on a lot of days, but I'm pretty sure you're training for trekking. So I'm betting that that second workout is maybe a stretch, a yoga, dance, something like that. So also keep in mind the idea of modules that I talked about the other day. I take my exercise and I break it into modules. I have cardio modules. I have weights as a module. I have rest as a module. And then I have like stretching, yoga, egoscue, whatever as a module. So I try and fit in a certain number of modules a week. Like for my cardio, I like to get 3 to 4 a week. My weights, I do 3. My stretching, I usually fit 4 to 6 a week. And then my rest is usually 1 day a week, sometimes 2. So you might try just doing that kind of module thing. And so if you're saying that you only get 20 minutes in the AM, then my suggestion would be take those 20 minutes and look into doing something like high intensity training, because that's going to give you your biggest bang for the buck on a short workout. So if you haven't looked into it, I'm going to make a note right now to do a post about that. And you can do high intensity training on a bike. You can do it on your feet. You can do it like I do it in a way at the gym. So you might want to just kind of like figure out if you can't just do it with that in the morning and then the evening be your other module. And yeah, Julie says modules are her slice of sanity. They are. Like, if I tell myself that I have to do this, and this week, I feel like a loser when I don't hit it. But the truth is that most of us don't hit it 100% every week. And we're going to talk about that again in a second. But if you put modules in there, then you can just kind of move them around, right? Just move them around. I mean, my weights are kind of the one that is the non-negotiable module, because that's more important to me right now than some of the other stuff. But just move them around and just make sure that you also start small, okay? We haven't even talked about this, but if you haven't been doing a lot of stuff and you're just getting going, start small. Like, the last thing you want to do is injure yourself and not be able to do anything. And you are talking to the queen of not starting small. Trust me, I know this one. So just start small and then build up. And certainly with some high intensity 20 minutes in the morning, boom, that's great. And then whatever you can weave in the evenings, you're golden. Another one is that, and I'm going to have to kind of guess what this one means, but it comes from Michelle, and it says, how to avoid the incredible stress of trying to make it to fitness commitments. So since I know Michelle, I'm betting that what she's saying is that she's overcommitting herself. She's overloading her schedule. And so now she's got all these things that she's committed herself to doing. And then now it's like, it comes back to kind of like Joan said, how do you fit it in? And when you get yourself to that moment when you're like all crazed about fitting it in, then it just doesn't, it makes you crazy. It doesn't work. This is no longer a fitness thing. This is a mental health day is what it comes to. Yeah, thanks, Joan. Yeah. So, when you overload yourself, like to the point of stress, then you're not doing yourself any good with your workout schedule, your fitness commitments. You're not. So maybe, and especially for my dear friend Michelle, maybe there's a couple of things. Is one of them we talked about before is, the word no, like dial it back a little bit and say, hey, no, I don't need to do that. And do something crazy, like drop a hard workout and throw a meditation in instead. that should probably tweak you out a little bit. But no, really, I'm kidding, but I'm not kidding. Because when you get to the point where you're stressing over your fitness commitments, then you need to dial it back. You just have to. And I'm going to talk about this more in a second, but the truth is that this is a long-term thing. Like what we're doing is a long-term thing. It's not, I'm here for 4 weeks and then I'm not going to exercise again for a while. You're in it for the long term. So look at it as the long game. And in fact, I did a piece on the podcast about that. I don't remember which episode it was, but I'll try and go back and grab it and post it in here. I think it was just recently. But, we're in it for the long game. So play the long game. The short game is when you're just trying to like cram everything in and just get it all done and be like balls to the wall, really, basically, if you don't mind that expression. But think about it in the long game. Like, what do you need to do on a consistent basis? Okay, another one, and this one is from Kayla. And Kayla said that she's struggling right now because she's in burnout. And she goes through periods, and we all do, right, of doing a whole bunch and feeling great, kind of like Tammy was saying, but this is a longer term. And then one day she just starts feeling all tired. And she just doesn't want to screw around with her diet, her food. Like, I don't want to think about how I'm supposed to eat again. And I don't want to think about whether I need to train for whatever it is I'm doing right now. She's just in burnout, right? And she wants to get back to that place where she's feeling really good. Sorry, I am reading while we're talking. Instead of feeling tired and lazy. So first, there is nothing lazy going on here, okay? Let's think about that for a second. There is nothing lazy happening here. Tired, if you're tired, I'm going to have to ask, are you working in rest days? And are you working in enough rest days? If you don't have a rest day, if you do weights one day and then you don't have a rest day the next day, then what's happening is that you break your muscles down when you're lifting weights, and then the next day is a recovery day. And the same thing goes with everything. So you've got to figure out some rest days in there. And sometimes they feel like you shouldn't be doing them. But if your rest day is, let's say your rest day is twice a week, you could take that rest day and do a simple, chill walk in the woods. Great for your brain. And it's great just for your overall well-being because it just lets everything loosen up. But when you're tired, I always think that that's when you just, this is my belief, when you need to push through. If we're training for something, we know when we've got to just push through. If we're running a race or we're riding a long bike ride and we know we've got to just push through the last 5 miles or whatever, that's one thing. But when you're just tired, when you look at your schedule, it's just like, that's boring. That's tiring. That stresses me out. Switch it up. Just switch it up. Give yourself a rest. This comes back to the long game. The other thing is too, and hang on, I made a couple of notes here that I want to talk about. One of them is always giving yourself a break, bringing some friends into the equation, right? Like going and doing something fun with your friends, like I mentioned earlier. Just go do some social thing that involves some movement. And then if it's a food thing, then think about the fact that, let me back up for just a second. I don't think I'm serious about food. Okay, I'll say that. I don't really count calories. I count grams. Some people call them, someone tell me what the word is. I can't think of the word right now, but macros. Some people call them macros. I just call them counting grams. But I do watch that, and I watch what I eat. But any food push out there, whether it's keto or paleo or alternative or intermittent fasting or any of those, they all do have a day when you're just like, letting your body do whatever it wants to eat. And you've got to give yourself that, because it's just, your body is, I'm not going to jump into nutrition because I am not a nutritionist, but I've read an awful lot about it. And you just need to give your body that break from a hard line food diet. Okay, that's the best I can say. The other thing I can say is that if you're burnt out and you're tired, you're done. Like, I'm just so done with this workout or this exercise I've been doing or this workout program or whatever it is, step back and ask yourself. And I mean, this is the big takeaway tonight. I would say this is the total takeaway for everything we're talking about. Why are you doing it? Okay. Why are you doing your exercise? Why are you creating a schedule? Why are you watching what you eat? Like, why? Like, if you know your why, if you know the reason that you really want to do whatever it is that you're doing, then that's what will drive you when you can't do something else. Like, for me, my why is always, and you'll always hear me say this, my why is being able to do the things that I want to do consistently and well. So for me, that means I have to be strong. I have to have good cardio. I have to have good flexibility. I just have to have all those things. And without them, and I have been there without them, and I know that I can't do it. I can't do the things that I love to do. So what's your why? Like, I know Joan said the other day that her why was that she wants to do, trekking with her husband. Like, it's a big deal. So that's a why. And Shauna mentioned that she wants to be able to do hiking more and some kayaking. Those are whys. Like, I'd even go a little bit further and say, what's a long-term adventure why? Like, I saw Karen just jumped on. Hey, Karen. Like, for Karen, she's doing the Smoky Mountains with me in September. She's co-leading that, right? So she knows that in September, she has to be at a certain level to be able to do all the hiking and everything else we're doing. So what are those things that are driving you? And then always come back to that. And it doesn't have to be like, Kayla, I'm going to say this one since I know you and I know this was your original question. Like, one of your whys is doing a race, right? And I would tend to challenge that just a tad, because a race, like, I've signed up for a lot of races that I didn't get to do. And because I go out too hard and I get injured. So I've learned these days to dial it back a little bit and just, like I said earlier, the long game. But instead of just shooting for something that's really difficult and super demanding, take this with a grain of salt, because you are talking to someone who has done a lot of super high demanding things, and I love them, right? But instead of just shooting for that one thing, look for those baby steps in between. Like, what are your whys? Maybe your why is to be able to go do a short run, like a 10K or a 5K, or just like what drives you? In fact, I wanted to do the podcast about this week. If you don't mind, hang on just a second. In fact, yeah. It was, what I was thinking is that so often, if you look at a fitness magazine, or if you look at I don't know, I'm going to have to make it up because I don't know what, I think they're called Shape, something like that. If you look at that, what would drive you is, wow, that person looks great. It would be great to be able to look like that, right? And it's the difference between appearance and ability, or appearance and activity. And if you really look at it, appearance is one of those things that comes and goes, but the ability to do certain activities is something that you can always grow and you can always get better at. I don't care what age you are or what shape you are, you can always get better at it. You can always do something. So, so think about that. Like, think about your why and what really matters with what it is that you want to do. All right. Once again, Kelly's back on her soapbox. Sorry. I can't help it, guys. I apologize. And I guess there's a couple of other things. Like one of them is that also have fun. Like it's life, right? If you're out there exercising, it is part of your life. So just make sure that you're having some fun while you're at it, because that is really important. I mean, I've done a lot of things that were hard and they were fun afterwards. And I've done a lot of things that were just fun, and you need a good mix. So make sure you got some fun in there. Give yourself a break, and remember to play the long game. This is forever. Does anyone else on the call have a question before I jump off? Because I told you guys I was going to keep you for 15 minutes, and I've got you for 20 so far. So any other questions before I wrap this one up? Well, what I'm going to do is, everybody who asks questions, I will tag you and post the video into the private group and the back here on this page. Joan and Julie and Karen, thank you guys so much for joining me. I love you guys for being out here, and I will talk to you next Monday night. We're talking about kryptonite, and like, what's your kryptonite? What's that thing that just blows everything for you? And it will be at 7 p.m. and we'll be on the public page for that. So thank you guys so much for being here, and have a wonderful, wonderful evening. And I will talk to you later, okay? Love you. Bye-bye now.